Hey students, how are you all? I hope you are fit and fine, and I also hope that you are doing well at your home. Now, the time of COVID-19 is such a time where we all are panicked, financially also, healthily also, as well in the other term also. So in this case of category, the most basic thing which we need to understand is that safety comes first, and the safety means protection from the disaster. Today's lesson is also depending on that same thing, that is the safety from the disaster. Whenever, wherever, whoever is meeting with any kind of disaster, he, she or any kind of other relative object is suffering well. Suffering means it is actually leading towards a time which can be making them panic. So therefore this disaster should be also managed well. But before managing of this disaster, we need to understand what is actually the disaster. What is actually the disaster? Today in this chapter, I welcome you in the lecture of 8th Standard English Medium, chapter number 5, SS. In this chapter, we are going to learn the basic needs related to the disaster. What are disasters? How are they formed? Now, if we go more in the detail, I would like to share a basic information about you that it can be man-made, it can be natural. Now, in the case of man-made as well in the case of natural, the one thing is common in the disaster. The one thing is common. What is that? That is actually the destruction. Destruction is the only thing which is common inside the disaster, whether it is man-made or it is the natural here. Now destructions can be also the two types, movable and non-movable properties, as well life of the human beings, natural, plant, trees, animals and other creatures too here. So therefore we need to understand the disaster. Now if we go more further, my dear students, the disaster can be classified over the several basic rules and regulations, or we can say that on the categories of the disaster. It can be related with tsunami, earthquake, volcanic eruption and many more things related with the disaster. So here we will understand how they are formed, what are the reasons of the disaster, and also in which case and category the disasters are related to the earth surface, related to the interior part, exterior part, and also related to the other part of the spheres, or we can say layers. So on 12th March, if we take a general example, on the 12th March, that is 2011, Krishna saw the picture. Krishna is a character in the story. Krishna saw a picture of tsunami in the newspaper. Now whenever you are going to observe any kind of disaster inside the TV media, social media or any platform of the news media, obviously we are having that kind of information that it is not believed that disasters is constructive. It is most time only destructive here. So there are some kinds of questions. These questions are arising inside our brain, and these questions also makes us to think apart why the disasters are happening. What is the reason behind the disaster? And that's all the theory is depending upon. So in this lesson we are going to learn about this kinds of disaster, and also we will learn, as I have said you just before a minute, that how and from where, which is the center of the disaster origination, or we can say how it is actually somehow coming out to expose themselves towards the world and also to destruct the whole world, or we can say that a specific area where the disaster is meeting encounter with the people or meeting with the general theories of the daily life routine. So let's move, students. As I said you, on 12th March 2011, Krishna, like any of the student, is observing any kind of disaster, whether the disaster is on the internet, as I said you, or in the newspaper. There is a question that before reaching the school, Krishna, she asked her teacher, class teacher, that ma'am or sir, I read about the disaster. I read about the news, that news of tsunami that came in the newspaper. So what is that? Please help me out. How does a tsunami occurs? And what is a tsunami? There's also question that what is a tsunami? Why the name is tsunami given to a destructive layer of the we can say tides? What is the reason behind that? So in this case we can say that sir replied, natural disasters are of two types, as I have said you, my dear students. Natural disasters can be of the two types. One is somehow we can say man-made, and one is the naturally occurring disaster. Now in this case we can say that disasters can be classified on the basis of like earthquake. Furthermore, if you go, we can say that like tsunami, volcanic eruptions, okay, and many more kinds of disasters are there. Forest fire, cyclone, or we can say high tides, many more. Like flood is also one kind of disaster. So in this case of theory, we need to understand that fire, drought are quite different kind of disaster. Drought can be causing by taking some time. Drought means what? Let me define you, my dear students. Drought means when there is scanty of rainfall or when there is no rainfall. When there is scanty of rainfall means less amount of rainfall for 1 or 2 years, or when there is no rainfall. Then also these kinds of disasters can be seen. As well, the forest fire, the fire which has, or we can say which is created naturally by the friction of trees inside the forest, is also known as the forest fire. Today 37, we can say 30th of the month day, 7th of the month 2020. Today also, if you check out after watching this video, in the today's date also, before coming to the office here, I saw the news that Australia's forest once again caught the fire. In today's date, I know you are going to see this this video lecture later, after when it is uploaded. But before that, I would like to share a very detailed that today also, when I'm giving you the lecture, I came and I saw disaster over the social media. I saw the disaster over the we can say news medias and all, because today on the date of, we can say today 30 of the 7th month 2020 also, there was and there is a big fire. There is a big fire created inside the forest. That was also somehow like the natural disaster. Animals are burnt and many more things are happening. So we can say today's lesson is all depending on this kinds of disaster, where we'll be understanding and learning about the earthquake. As well also I'll make you to understand about the volcanic eruptions too, my dear students. So therefore we can say these kinds of disasters are there, that they take place internally earth, or we can say exterior of the earth also. Sometimes they come in the cyclonic wave or cyclonic in the cyclonic phase of the disaster also, when the heavy wind is blowing from one place to another, breaking every kind of the thing coming inside their ways. That can be given a different name, as I know that these kinds of disasters can be also defined by the regional people on the regional language also. Like cyclonic disaster can be given name also. Recently we can say that like the cyclonic disasters that came over some of the zone of our Indian nation, that is belonging to like Orissa, then some part of Saurashtra also. Many more things we can say are witnessed by us. And if you ask me, I'll make you also read about in the 9th standard that 5 to 6 kinds of cyclones are crossing over the Indian zones approximately whole of the year, means, or we can say in the rainy season. Minimum 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 cyclones has to be crossed out. So they are crossing from the Indian, or we can say from the Indian zones. So therefore we can say today we'll study about the earthquake. Now you might have thinking that, you might be pondering about that what is this figure is actually. What is this figure actually? So I'll let you know about this figure also, but I'll make you understand about this disaster of the figure and what is it is how it is created also. See, earthquake is a natural process of the disaster. Earthquake is a natural process of the disaster, in which we can say that we can't predict when will be the earthquake exactly on the time. But we have developed some kinds of machineries like seismographs and all, like they cannot exactly predict the time, but somehow nearby that we can predict, or we can calculate them also about the earthquake frequency of that, or you can say that on which Richter scale the graph of the earthquake can be somehow measured out, so that vibration can be understood here. Now what is earthquake? Let's understand first of all the part of earth. the weakest layer of the crust, if you talk about the weak layer or the weakest layer of the earth, is the crust over which is suddenly, you can say, some of the changes can be seen out. It can be broken apart from the one place to another places, or into two places also. Sometimes it can be also mixed with magma and lava. You might have seen, my dear students, okay, actually these are tectonic plates. These are the two tectonic plates. I'll tell you, I'll make you understand why this is happening only in the tectonic plates. Because we all are actually making our houses, buildings and many more things, or we can say that upper layer of the crust is depending on the tectonic plates. These plates are responsible to give us a solid ground, and they are also furthermore responsible to create the earthquake also. So now movement created by the tectonic plate, we can say that, can be creating some vibrations. Now why this movement is created out also? There are some pressure of the temperature, gases and many more other things which makes them to vibrate. So when they are vibrating, you can see out here, there is a center, epicenter, and downside we can say there is a hypocenter. As much you move far away from the epicenter, means that is the center of vibration, that is the center of earthquake. As much you move far away from the epicenter, that much you can say that much experience of the earthquake will be low, that much effect of earthquake will be low. As you can see in the diagram, in the figure, these are not a different diagram, these are the same diagram, which is on the first place is also on the second place below that. Okay, just here I have explained you, these are the two tectonic plates, but I have tried to explain you that what is the origin of the earthquake. So that is how we can say that this is one of the basic part that can be said as epicenter. What is that? That is the epicenter. And downside we can say that it is the lower bottom, can be called the hypocenter. Now if you go more further, it is experiencing sometime tremendous or tremors of the we can say collision. Now due to collision means due to pressure or due to heavy weight, they are colliding with each other. They are coming very much near to each other. Sometimes they are doing some kinds of friction with each other by the help of other several gases. What is happening in that? That collision of these plates due to tremendous pressure in the interior of the earth, waves are generated. Waves are generated, and therefore the waves, or we can say tremor of this earthquake, originate from the hypocenter, from the down below, and reaches towards the epicenter from the upper below. So therefore we can say that suddenly some shakings can be witnessed here. Suddenly some shakings can be witnessed, and you are unable to imagine also at the time that whether it's an earthquake or whether it's a different kind of thing, because you will lead a scenario of panicking with the people. Everybody will be panic at the time when the scenario, or when we can say that the graph scale of earthquake is reaching more than 6.5, or we can say at least 6.5, it is destructing to the buildings which are either newly constructed or the buildings which are very oldly built up. So that is also one of the effective thing. And if it is going more than 7, 8 on the Richter scale, then also we can say that it is total destruction of the man and material to here, movable and non-movable property also. So therefore we can also say that these kinds of earthquake are not responsible for the construction of the surface. They are most of represented as the destructive of the layer, or we can say that okay, these kinds of the topic which I am teaching you here, you can see out here, these kinds of topics cannot be represented as the constructive basis. They are always destructive on the platform. So my dear students, I would like to give you an example of the Kutch, Anjar. You can search this place over the Google also, and you can see what was the condition of Anjar in Kutch, Bhuj also, in the time of 2002-2003, because at that time only there was a huge earthquake witnessed in these areas. It was like 90% area, the building was collapsed out. That was a very big challenge towards the people of that area to re-establish themselves, to rehabilitate themselves. So the earthquake is not good for any part of nation or any people or for anything. Earthquake is not good at all. So if we go more further, if you talk about the trembling and the shaking of the earthquake, it is not in the control of anyone, and therefore we can say earthquake waves are created from the epicenter. As I said you, the waves are created from the epicenter, they reach to the hypocenter also, and somehow we can say during this process earthquake occurs due to intense disturbation and we can say interior in the earth surface. So when there is a heavy pressure generated from the down below, we can say that epicenter is creating some kinds of waves. You can see the wave as much, see the wave from 1 2 then 3 4 5 6 7 8. So my dear student, as much you move far, that much you are actually having a surety to be safe. As much you move far from that, because that is the center of the earthquake, there you will witness the most heavy we can say that very heavy layers of the waves, or these waves will be disturbing you, your property, and many more things to here. So we need to move from there. I'll also make you understand, my dear students, how to save yourself in the cases of earthquake, or we can say in the situation of earthquake. But before that, we need to understand why it is happening, what is the reason behind that. So the waves of the earthquake is spread, it is spread, and out of the earth, we can say that out of the epicenter it is spreading, and somehow it is affecting all the contacting objects, the objects which are coming in the contact. Also the point of the earth surface is exactly above the hypocenter, it is exactly above the hypocenter if I talk about, and same as here we can say that, which is also known as the epicenter, that you can see in the figure. See, this both the figures are not different, my dear student, don't be confused, these both the figures are same. Here just I have made you to understand the theory of the tectonic plate. Here why, where the tectonic plate are having some kinds of epicenters, which is created by the pressure. It is created by the pressure. So if you go more further, we can say that the earthquake decreases as we move further, as I have said to you. As we move further, we are safe enough. So we can measure the intensity of the earthquake, which is also known as the point of origination or the hypocenter, or we can say that with the help of the instrument, or with the help of a therapy used by an instrument, that is known as seismography. Okay, so therefore these are, we can say, basic information about the earthquake, and there are three main eruptions related to the earthquake. There are three main reasons for the eruption, or we can say startup of the earthquake also. So that can be also somehow related with the earth surface, crust, landslides, strike fall, and many more things also, which we can understand here. The first can be earthquake which is caused by volcanic eruption. Sometime, my dear student, what is happening down below to the surface of the earth crust, there are lots of pressure, lots of magma and lava, and evaporated, we can say that, steam or by the water and all. So they also generate some amount of heavy pressure. If the volcano needs to break its opening mouth up and come out from the earth surface, it is also creating the earthquake, because it is trying to generate, or it is actually, see from here, it is related with the heavy wave which is actually moving the plates, or we can say not the moving, or trying to tremble the plate in such a way that it can be creating some kinds of wave for the further areas also from the main hypocenter, that can be said as earthquake. So one is the volcanic eruption. Second is the earthquake caused by strike slip faults by the layer of tectonic plates also. Sometimes these tectonic plates are somehow sleeping or sliding or shifting. Why it is being done? It is there because if there is nothing down under the surface of the tectonic plates are somehow shifting themselves. So if they are shifting themselves, obviously there is a gap, and obviously there is the layer which is disturbed out. As we make our houses, see, if there is a question in your brain that what is tectonic plate, then I would like to clear the doubt also. Tectonic plates can be measured in a calculative direction. It can be 10 kilometers, it can be 5 kilometers, it can be abundance also. Tectonic plate is the plate which is also responsible to give a surface to the earth crust. Means where we are standing, these are the big plates. Now what is under that? Asthenosphere is there, the layer which is relating with the liquid sphere, it is also known as the asthenosphere. These are the general gyan. So we can say that okay, this is how the earthquake can be created out. Now the third point is that earthquake is caused by subduction zone also, shifting of the tectonic plates from its original location. So that is also somehow related with the earthquake. Do you know, my dear students, do you know, let me ask you a question, do you know this Himalaya, Mount Everest, if you talk about, is also one of the reason of tectonic movements? If you don't know, you should check it out on the Google. Because when the two tectonic plates came together, colliding each other's surface, they made Mount Everest. I will make you understand. Tectonic plate 1, tectonic plate 2, okay, if they come closer, they collide with each other with a heavy speed, and this is a slow procedure. When they collide together, they generally make some internal, you can say, pressure, which is making the internal pressure to come out of the land, and that can be creating the hill stations also. That can be creating the Mount Everest also. There is a video from the we can say YouTube on a documentary theory about the Himalaya creation. You can see that video over the internet and you'll understand how it was created. And for your general basic knowledge, let me define you. Himalayas mountains are not the mountain which are ancient, which are the oldest. Okay, the mountains which are found in the Aravalli zone of Gujarat, stretching straight away towards Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh also, is actually the oldest mountain, oldest fold mountain. That is the Aravalli range of the mountain that we need to understand here. These are the general gyan, you just need to remember. I'll give you some of the gyan extra in my lecture. So moving further, my dear students, we can say that okay, this is the basic theory about the earthquake as well as the earthquake eruption, startup of the earthquake, and also I can say that okay, this is the diagram where you can understand what is the earthquake. Now if I move to the next topic, what can be the next topic? It is very much easy. Now see, I hope you don't have any kind of doubt in the earthquake here. But the next topic is the volcano. Now in this topic, what are volcanoes? First of all, the question is that how can we define that a volcano can be having some blast? How can we define the category of the volcanoes? What are the reasons for that? Which categories are there? So in this case, we can say volcanoes are defined, derived and examined on the three basic categories, means three basic types: active volcano, dormant volcano, as well extinct volcanoes. Active volcano is the volcano which is found only in the Indian zones in the Andaman and Nicobar. Active volcano can be giving some amount of smoke and some amount of magma and lava also, and sometimes they are blasting also, they are bursting. But if you talk about the volcano, we can say distinct volcanoes are also there, active volcanoes are there, and many more related volcanoes are there. So these kinds of volcanoes are also responsible for the general basic change inside the natural atmosphere also. They create a huge amount of gases. Now as if you talk about the earthquake, earthquake can be constructive but very less. And if the earthquake is happening in the human residency area, obviously it is not gonna become any constructive, it can be destructive only. But if you talk about the volcanic eruption can be having some kinds of properties of construction. It means that it can be giving some kinds of good things towards the farmers, not only towards the farmers, towards the people who are actually searching for the diamond. Now you might be thinking, from where to where sir is connecting the topic? Let me define you, my dear students. Actually, volcano is also responsible for the coal production. Volcano is also we can say that these kinds of volcanoes are also responsible for the diamond production, and they're also responsible for the good fertility of the soil production. But how? That we will know in this lecture. See, slowly by slowly I will make you understand all the theories related to these kinds of lectures, and I'll also make you understand which type of the volcanoes are there, how they can be classified, and as well I said you the three basic names of the volcano on which these kinds of volcanoes are somehow justified, they are examined, they are classified, and also they are actually documented. So this lecture is still here only, my dear students. We'll see the most basic things about the volcanoes in some other lecture. Till then, you can keep revising, and the extra gyan which I gave to you, you can also get some more gyan related to that on the Google. But you need to just do one thing: go and open the browser and you can search over the Google, and you should also have your textbook with you. Without the textbook, you are not gonna get the all information. So from the textbook reference, you can search over the Google also. We'll see you in the next chapter, in the next lecture, and this is the part number 1. We'll study more details about the volcanic eruption, cyclone, forest fire in the part number 2 also. So till then, you can keep care and keep revising, and also maintain self-distancing. Take care. Jai Hind.